Hey folks, Reviewy McReviewface coming back at you, and today we're talking about taking a Celtic tradition, putting a little horsepower spin on it. That's right, so I recently acquired this beautiful kilt from Wales Tartan Centre. Check them out if you're looking for a Welsh tartan. And I thought with the red for the stamps, the green for the grass, it'd be perfect to wear out to a CFL tailgate. I have been known to dress up for Stampeder games on occasion. But the only problem was the sporran. For those of you who aren't familiar, a sporran is kind of like a reverse fanny pack that goes with the kilt.
World judges a man by the size of a sporran.
The sporran's a little boring, so I thought, what can I do? Maybe take a leather football and turn it into a custom day sporran. Now I looked online, nobody seems to have one of these for sale. Shocker. So I thought, I guess I'll just have to make my own. That's right, so I managed to take apart a CFL football, took out all the stitching, took out all the lacing, took out the bladder, and turned it into this custom sporran.
Now, I'm not going to show you all of the footage because that is over several days, and I have actually 6 hours of recorded footage, and I didn't even have the camera on the whole time. Instead, I'm kind of going to go through the highlights here and show you a little bit of my thinking here and some of the ways I went about making this. Things like removing the laces and removing all the stitching and kind of piecing things back together. One of the things here is that meant I had to remove some of the paint that was on the football. I found that actually just regular paint thinner managed to loosen that up so you could peel away the paint from on top of the football. Also had to learn a new way of stitching with this. Usually, I would use the doubled over thread, tie a knot in the end of it and stitch through. So this, I believe it's called saddle stitching. Don't quote me on that. I am not a seamster, but basically 2 needles, 1 piece of thread. You just kind of weave it back and forth through the leather after punching holes with it with that little hammery thingy and the little pokey thingy. I don't know the names for everything. But yeah, so once everything's kind of apart and the other little chunks are ready, it was a matter of assembling this entire back piece, which was a lot of sewing back and forth. My fingers were incredibly sore by the end of this. And then for the sides, I took basically a blank leather belt. I don't know if I should have used a belt. I think the belt was a little bit too thick, but it's what I ended up using. So here you can see just kind of wrapping around the sides to make sure that I can kind of line this up properly. And then again, having to sew through thick football leather as well as thick belt leather was, that was a workout, that's for sure. But, slowly but surely it kind of came together. Again, using the little, I think it's called an owl, I don't know. Using the punchy thing to make the holes a little bit bigger so that I could then thread the 2 needles through and past each other and then tighten them up and back. And then just tying a knot at the end, cutting that off, and that is one side attached to the belt blank. So I had to then cut that down to size, and it's all ready to do the other side. So attach the front of it first, then the back, making sure to sew it all inside out, so all of those seams will be nice and hidden when you go ahead and flip this back right side out, which, wasn't the easiest process, but I did manage to pop it all mostly into shape. And then, I also had to take the valve out of the bladder and just pop that back into the side of the football there so that there wasn't a big gaping hole in the middle of my sporran. Then just sewing in some interior leather just because I didn't like the look of the raw sewn inside of the football showing every time I opened the flap. And then relacing the football. I had to learn how to lace a football, which is surprisingly a skill I had never developed. So I took some regular leather lacing, repainted it white to match the old lacing because the old lacing was plastic, and relaced that up. I think it looks pretty good, all things considered. And then just to make sure those corners are nice and crisp, I took every clamp that I own and clamped that down just to get it nice and flat, and then clamped over the seams of where I wanted the leather to fold as well, just to give it a nice crisp seam there so it folds a little easier. Then, of course, you need a place to attach this thing on the back of the sporran, so took another little chunk of belt blank and sewed that on. And of course you need to close the sporran, so punching in a couple of buttons. Probably wouldn't do this method again. I find closing the buttons isn't the easiest thing, but you know what, for a first try, it does at least close. Not the best, not the worst. At least it works. And then finally taking the leather paint. I tried this with acrylic cracks. You need to use proper leather paint. And when you do that, you can see it goes on nice and clean, nice and clear. And you really can't tell the difference between the parts I painted and the parts that just came like that. And there's our finished Sporran.
Now, I know some of you are saying, hey, that doesn't look very good. Hey, I'm not a leather worker. I didn't have any plans for this. I didn't work from any patterns. I simply took the football apart, then took the pieces and kind of put them back into a pouch-like shape. Is it the best thing out there? No, so don't leave any comments below about how my stitching is terrible. I know it's not that great, but I think it'll work pretty well for CFL games. I'll be able to come out here, keep my cell phone in my Sporran, and have something nice and custom to help me cheer on my Calgary Stampeders in the 2021 CFL season. So there you have it, folks. Taking a regular football, turning it into an abnormal Sporran, and hopefully I'll be able to wear it out into this parking lot to come tailgate again. But hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Obviously, I'm taking a football and turning it into a Sporran. There's nothing to sell there. I'm just telling you my review. I'm Reviewy McReviewface. Make sure you click that subscribe button and hit that like button, and I will see you next review. Go Stamps, go!